Why I rarely recommend Georgetown University to my students, and why I'm not about to start now. That is the topic of today's video. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. Well, the ancien regime is nearing an end, and that is true in more ways than one, and it is particularly true at Georgetown University, where Charles Deacon has presided over the undergraduate admissions office for a number of years, and he's done a really, really great job, especially as other things have fallen apart at Georgetown. He has sort of kept himself and that office together, and some of my most favorite colleagues through the years have worked in the Georgetown University admissions office, but all good things, as they say. Georgetown University has announced that during the 26-27 admissions cycle, it will accept the Common App for the first time. And that's going to radically change the type of student who is populating the dorms and the classrooms at Georgetown University. And as I said in the beginning of this video, I rarely recommend Georgetown University proactively to my students because I know that it takes intrinsic drive to apply to Georgetown because it requires a student to create a login and a whole new other application, separate and apart from the Common App. Whereas these days, most kids applying to American colleges and universities are not willing or able, frankly, to create something beyond the Common App. Maybe they'll do it for the UCs, maybe again they'll do it for MIT, and maybe they'll do it for Georgetown if they have that intrinsic drive. But I don't want to foist it upon them or force it upon them. I want the students to really want it themselves. And I think that's a very mature approach. That's the approach I take with my clients. I treat them as adults, young adults. And I think that's important to have that relationship with your students. And I will continue to have that relationship with my students. And therefore, I've only traditionally recommended Georgetown University to students who I think Georgetown would be a great fit for them extracurricularly, academically, socially, environmentally, rigor-wise, culture-wise. And that's how I've, of course, approach all my recommendations to students. But I have sort of an extra hurdle with Georgetown, which is, will this student find such a good fit at Georgetown? And are they obviously academically prepared for a school like Georgetown? Georgetown basically is a really hard school to get into, and it's a strong academic caliber school. And they really have always wanted strong testing throughout this regime. Even during the days of COVID-19, testing was still emphasized, and it is, of course, required currently, and basically throughout my entire career, testing has been required. All the way back to the days of the SAT subject test, the SAT-2s, Georgetown always had the most onerous requirements as it relates to testing of any institution, including all the Ivy League institutions. And through the years, under this current regime that, again, is in its waning days, the fact of the matter is Georgetown has been able to, even having its own application and not living large off of the Common App, they have been able to have a very low acceptance rate and welcome students who want Georgetown for Georgetown and who are a good fit for Georgetown. So the fact that Georgetown is now going to have students applying via the Common App during the 26-27 admission cycle means that Georgetown is about to get much more difficult to get into statistically. Thousands upon thousands, if not tens of thousands of more first-year applicants will be applying to Georgetown starting during the 26-27 admission cycle. But the actual quality of student going to Georgetown University as first-year students will remain flat or actually go down in a number of ways if you consider one of those important ways being students who really want Georgetown for Georgetown. So the yield rate at Georgetown is going to go down. And that also means, of course, that I expect that probably by 2030, if they continue to accept the Common App, they're saying they're doing it for a 3-year trial. They're going to not stop accepting the Common App. They're going to keep accepting the Common App because once you get hooked on a drug, you don't get off that drug if it's highly addictive. And this is the Common App, that is highly addictive. So they're not going to get off the Common App. It's very, very rare for a school to get off the Common App. It's almost unheard of that any well-known institution would leave the Common App. And I hope the day comes when a lot of schools leave the Common App because, again, the Common App is a drug. And it is something that has not really helped students in the long run, in my opinion, and has not, the majority of students, particularly high quality students. And it has not helped, I don't think, ultimately institutions in ways that should matter. It's helped them do what they use the Common App for, which is increasingly decrease their acceptance rate, look to be more prestigious, brag, and get a greater diversity of applicants. And Georgetown said as much in its press release announcing why it was going to the Common App. They say they want to increase access. What that basically means is they want people who would never apply to Georgetown to now apply to Georgetown. It's going to be easier than ever to apply to Georgetown. People who don't want to put in the effort to apply to Georgetown are now going to apply to Georgetown starting in the 26-27 admission cycle. And Georgetown will accept some of these students who really couldn't care less about Georgetown, but Georgetown wants them because the diversity, the perspective that they're going to bring. Even if they couldn't care less about Georgetown, they have no investment in Georgetown. Georgetown will accept those students who want to put in minimal effort on the Common App over students who maybe their entire lives have dreamt of going to Georgetown, who would have put in the effort and dotted their I's and crossed their T's on the Georgetown institutional application. They will be blown out of the water in many cases by students in Alaska just because, the student's an Eskimo and Georgetown wants another Eskimo. And they don't have any Eskimos right now. And this is not to be derogatory to Eskimos or Georgetown, but this is how it works. This is why the Common App is used. Visit areyouontracktogetin.com to complete a free 3-minute assessment, the results of which will help you clarify whether or not you are or your student is on track for selective college admission in the United States of America. So the idea of actually applying to an institution out of whole cloth, basically starting your own account, that takes a lot of effort for a 17, 18-year-old kid these days. And so that's why I think Georgetown was and is currently getting better fit candidates than they will be getting at Georgetown once this change takes effect. They've already started considering Pell Grant status at Georgetown in their admissions office when determining whether or not to accept a student. Of course, this is just a backdoor way to get around the affirmative action ban and race and ethnicity-based preferences ban that the Supreme Court ruled on in 2023. I'm going to continue to recommend it sparingly, not because it's a bad institution. It is a great institution for students who want to go into diplomacy and business, international business, and other fields that they're very strong in at Georgetown. It's just going to become that much harder to get into Georgetown without any connections. They're going to continue to consider legacy. So there's a lot of factors that are going to make Georgetown even less of a school that I want to recommend to students starting during the 26-27 admission cycle, because it's just going to become much more like a lottery and much harder to gauge. Yes, they're going to continue to accept their own application, the traditional Georgetown application. Maybe they'll make some adjustments to it to align it with their new Common App supplement at Georgetown. But even if they do, it's not going to be something that I really recommend Georgetown to many students, if at all, because Georgetown already has a really low acceptance rate, and they got that way over now decades without using the drug that is the Common App. Once they actually hook themselves up to the drug that is the Common App, oh my goodness, all bets are off. Georgetown will become, most likely, far more selective statistically than any of the Ivies. Now, that may not happen, but that's what I predict would happen. I mean, Georgetown will become the shiny object in parent circles in the late 2020s and early 2030s because of the statistics they're going to be able to put up starting during the 26-27 admission cycle and in future admission cycles. I have no doubt that by 2030, there will be serious consideration, if not already the implementation of an early decision option at Georgetown because of the massive number of extra applications Georgetown is going to be receiving, and they're going to have to mind their yield. And to do that, the only way to do that will be to have some sort of more robust, restrictive early action option, or again, most likely, follow in the footsteps of a school like Boston College, Villanova, and institute a formal early decision option. Maybe they'll retire early action altogether. We will see. But one change begets other changes. And again, don't misunderstand. I think Georgetown is a strong school for many students, but I don't proactively recommend it because I know what a 17 and 18-year-old is really like. If it's the right fit, I'll recommend it, but rarely is Georgetown such a great fit for a student, and that student also being a strong student and someone who's going to really put in the time, effort, and want to put in the time, effort to do that extra application. So for all those reasons, I believe water seeks its own level. I mean, that's generally my philosophy. And so if I see in a student someone who's got that verve, that energy, that intrinsic drive, of course, and the alignment, values-wise, academic-wise, environmental-wise, social-wise, extracurricular-wise, at a school like Georgetown, of course I'll recommend it. But that's pretty rare. If you think I have like 100 kids total, statistically, I'll 7, 6, 5 kids out of 100, I'd probably recommend Georgetown to, because in the scheme of things, there's thousands of colleges. So again, forecasting out, maybe early decision in the future at Georgetown. But again, the first big change will be the 26-27 admission cycle when Georgetown is a part of the Common App. And I am not going to start recommending Georgetown more at that point. I'm going to be running in the opposite direction while everyone else is running toward Georgetown during the 26-27 admission cycle. So just keep that in mind as you think into the future. If you're a parent of a student, or if you're a student yourself right now watching this video in 2025 or later, as a strategy point to keep in your back of your mind. When everyone's zigging, you should be zagging. As we wrap things up, I want to remind you that you don't have to settle for the free videos alone. As you navigate the college admissions process, get the focused and personalized coaching and expertise you need to achieve your goals. My Smart Sessions meet you where you are in order to take you where you want to go. Meanwhile, if you want proactive support throughout the college application process and want to collaborate with a dedicated expert to submit applications that are simply meticulous, reserve your preferred Simply Meticulous experience as soon as possible. Space is limited due to the time and attention to detail required to pull off these extraordinary coaching experiences. No matter your distinctive objectives, you can achieve them. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, visit my website, which is collegemeister.com. And when you finish your Common App and want to know if it's as strong as possible and whether or not in its current condition your chances of admission are impressive, inconclusive, or inadequate, you need my pre-read. Getting my pre-read now means having me review your entire application, just like an admissions officer or admissions committee will review it later, and receiving by email no later than the time you reserve a comprehensive report highlighting what's working and what's not on your full Common App and one Common App supplement. If you've yet to submit your Common App, my pre-read may motivate you to make adjustments to it before your deadline. If you've already submitted your Common App, my pre-read will prepare you for what I deem to be your likely admissions outcome at the institution in question. To purchase my pre-read now, go to mypreread.com. Again, that's mypreread.com. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. As mentioned previously, if you'd like to work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process, or maybe just for part of it, visit my website, which is collegemeister.com. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college admissions process.